Imagine waking up in a country that looks endlessly wealthy. Skyscrapers gleam in the sunlight. Shopping malls are packed with endless consumer goods. The stock market hits record highs every week. Luxury cars fill the streets. From the outside, it feels like the pinnacle of prosperity, a country at the top of the world. But look closer. Behind the glitter, behind the flashy numbers, there's a hidden engine. One powered not by innovation, not by production, but by debt, speculation, and the illusion of wealth. Here's the paradox. How can the richest nation in human history also be the most indebted nation on Earth? And if this prosperity was built on a fragile foundation, when does the bill finally come due? This is the story of America's fake prosperity. How the illusion was built, how it lasted decades, and how it threatens everything we take for granted today. To understand today's America, we need to go back to the 1980s, a decade of change, a turning point, a period when the U.S. made choices that would shape the next 40 years. In 1980, the U.S. national debt was $907 billion. That number seems massive until you compare it to today. By 2025, the debt exceeds $35 trillion. That's an increase of nearly 3,700% in just 4 decades. A staggering number that no ordinary person can fully imagine. Meanwhile, American workers were struggling to keep up. Despite economic growth, real wages barely moved. Manufacturing jobs, once the backbone of middle-class security, began to vanish. By the early 2000s, millions of Americans were left with lower-paying service jobs. Yet on the surface, everything seemed fine. Bigger houses, fancier cars, cheaper goods imported from overseas, and booming stock markets. It was a nation convinced it was becoming richer while quietly borrowing its future away. To truly understand America's fake prosperity, imagine the economy as a grand theater. Bright lights, stunning sets, actors performing on a perfect stage. The audience sees wealth, growth, and abundance. But behind the curtain, the stage is held up by thin, fragile beams. The illusion works in 3 steps: borrow, print, import. Step 1. Borrow. The government borrows to stimulate growth and cover budget deficits. Corporations borrow to buy back their own stock and inflate share prices. Consumers borrow to fund lifestyles their wages cannot support. Credit cards, student loans, mortgages, and auto loans become the engine of consumption. Debt fuels spending. Spending fuels growth, and growth keeps the illusion alive. Step 2. Print money. Whenever cracks appear in the economy, the Federal Reserve steps in. Interest rates are slashed. Liquidity floods the financial system. Markets rise. It's financial steroids for an already exhausted economy. Every crisis is met with more money, more borrowing, more stimulus. Step 3. Import cheap prosperity. Manufacturing moves overseas. Cheap goods from China and other countries flood American stores. People feel rich because they can buy more, while domestic wages stagnate. In essence, America's growth becomes less about production and more about illusion, leverage, and financial engineering. It's a house made of marble on the outside, but cardboard on the inside. The first major crack appeared in 2008. The housing bubble, built on reckless lending and over-leveraged banks, finally burst. Millions of Americans lost their homes. Banks failed. Stock markets crashed. It was a moment when the illusion nearly fell apart. But instead of fundamentally fixing the system, the response was simple: double down. The Federal Reserve printed over $3.5 trillion to rescue banks and stabilize markets. Interest rates were slashed to near zero. The government bailed out institutions deemed too big to fail. A new bubble was quietly forming, larger than the last. Then came 2020. The COVID-19 pandemic shocked the economy. In response, the U.S. government printed 40% of all dollars in history in just 2 years. Stock markets soared. Housing prices skyrocketed. Once again, prosperity appeared real. But the truth remained. It was an illusion. Debt-driven, heavily leveraged, and reliant on constant stimulus. The consequences of this fake prosperity are everywhere. Middle-class wealth is trapped in overpriced housing markets. Young Americans struggle under record student loan debt. Inflation eats away at savings and purchasing power. Corporate buybacks inflate stock prices without creating real growth. And the federal government spends over $1 trillion per year just paying interest on its debt. America lives on credit and calls it growth. This dependency on constant borrowing has created a system that now relies on bubbles. If the next one bursts, millions could be affected. Jobs, pensions, homes, and retirement savings all hang in the balance. And the most unsettling truth? The longer this illusion lasts, the worse the fall will be. The fake prosperity worked, because people believed in it. Cheap money felt good. Rising markets felt safe. Debt seemed harmless until it wasn't. America did not build a stronger economy. It built a taller, more impressive illusion. History shows us the pattern is always the same. Boom, bubble, crash, and a painful reset. And today, we stand closer to that reset than most realize. The question is not whether the system is fragile, but whether it can survive another shock without catastrophic consequences. So here's the question. Can America escape this debt-driven system, or has the era of real prosperity already ended? Think about it. Comment below with your thoughts. I'm reading every reply.